Hi, this is Mason. It's 11 o'clock in the morning in Syracuse, and we're live in the 315. Here's Brian Higgins.
Oh, good morning, 11 o'clock, Thursday. The pearly white's all taken care of. We're all good to go. In and out. Simple cleaning at the dentist this morning. We are right on time. And ready to roll here on a Thursday. Glad to have you in. Lots of you were hanging with us, at least medium-wise, late night on the post-game show last night after the double overtime win for the Orange, 107-100 over Cal in just a wild, weird, wacky day in Syracuse athletics. John Wildhack announcing his retirement, multiple power outages in the Dome, the Orange actually winning a game. We'll get into all of that throughout the show here today, and much, much more. But let's get it going with our opening menu presented by our friends at the Thompson Road Tavern. So here's what we got today. Here is what is on the menu. So, we'll talk about yesterday. We're going to do a little who's next, because despite the win yesterday, despite the John Wildhack news yesterday, we are still, despite John Wildhack saying yesterday that no decision will be made on red until all of the games are played this year. We're still going to operate under the thought process that the decision we all think is going to be made will be made. So the next edition of Who's Next will be coming up later on in the show. We will be doing a double dip yet again of no wrong answers, because we got a massive lacrosse game in the Dome tomorrow night. Number 1 Maryland, number 2 Syracuse. The Orange will be looking for their first win over Maryland in 15 years. So we'll see how that goes tomorrow night. Syracuse SMU on the basketball court Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock. So another double dip edition of No Wrong Answers. And as always, link pinned top of the chat if you'd like to get in your calls. Fella Ferda, don't you think that thought hasn't occurred to me? I don't quite, we may, I don't know. Like, that's one where it's actually potentially less insulting to the person that currently has the job, because we already know the outcome of their thing. But whether or not we do a official segment for it, Fella Ferda, we are absolutely going to discuss some of the things. How's William Kyle? I think he just had a crap. T. Murphy, I haven't heard anything otherwise. Lastly, though, on our Thompson Road Tavern opening menu here, here's what you got to go to the Thompson Road Tavern Facebook page, because every morning they pop up like their daily specials right on the Facebook page. Here's what they got cooking. Again, this is a bar. This is what they got on special today: scalloped potatoes au gratin with ham. Like they're not playing. Scalloped potatoes au gratin. They've gone au gratin and they're tossing in some ham. It's also a wing night tonight, starting at 5. Dine-in only for wing specials. So wing night tonight. Yeah, if you didn't think you were having ham with scalloped potatoes for lunch, get all up in that. Get all up in that. Our friends at the Thompson Road Tavern. Where is it? It's on Thompson Road. 690 Thompson Road. When you get off the exit, there's one that says S. There's one that says N. You take the one that says N. Go that way. If you need to get to Thompson Road from a different place, well, then you probably already know what you're doing. So just do that and go there. There we are. Our opening menu, brought to you by our friends at the Thompson Road Tavern. So let's get into it here. And again, link pin top of the chat if anybody wants to chime in any context on anything today. Just a wacky day yesterday in Syracuse athletics. So the morning was perfectly normal. I'd say the news about John Wildhack's retirement announcement came out, one-ish, give or take, in there. So early afternoon, it's officially announced that John Wildhack's last year in charge of the Orange Athletic Department will be this one, and his retirement date is set for the end of this fiscal year, so he'll be in charge officially until the end of June. Then he goes on with Stephen Pauly yesterday, shortly after that, and the two pertinent things that they asked are both about the future of Red. One, John essentially went out and said nothing has changed, meaningful games in March, we're going to let the season play out, we'll see what happens, and then we'll make a decision. Two, he still says that, hey, I'm the athletic director, the decision starts with me. Obviously, Board of Trustees oversees that. John, here's what people need to know about a decision like this for men's basketball. Like, even if John was not retiring, say he was the AD now and was going to be the AD, he cannot make a move like that unilaterally. Even though he's the boss, he's got bosses, right? There are people to answer to. There's the chancellor and that whole murky mess, because the chancellor is also gone at the end of the fiscal year, and we don't know officially what's happening with his replacement. And yeah, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing, and we are going to explore this significantly of how it affects the Red and beyond Red situation. So he said he will not make that decision, and then he was asked, like, something to the effect of, all right, if there is a coaching search, who's running it? And John said, me. And we'll discuss this basically throughout the Who's Nexts and all this stuff going forward. So, as of right now, as we sit here a late morning on Thursday, February 12th, publicly anyway, we do not know who the athletic director of Syracuse University will be next basketball season. We do not know who the chancellor of Syracuse University will be next basketball season. We also do not know who the coach of Syracuse basketball will be next basketball season. The normal order of operations for affairs like this, in order that people get hired, if this is all happening somewhat at the same time, would be chancellor, athletic director, basketball coach. Now, as I knock a box of cough drops on the ground, they kind of ruined the drama of the whole thing. Chancellor, athletic director, basketball coach. There is quite possibly or quite likely roundabouts 1 month until they will need to start figuring out the basketball coach. As we know, the gears of academia grind slowly. Is it possible that a new chancellor could be announced within the next month? Yeah, it's quite possible. Why am I always six, Patch in the Wheeze? Well, there's a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old running about. We're just, I'm flanked in germs from all directions. We're just covered in germs. There's germs here. There's germs here. The germs are all around. So it's possible they'll need to hire a basketball coach without knowing the chancellor, without knowing the athletic director. Will a new chancellor be announced within the next month? I'd say it's possible. And now we enter the realm of rumor and the realm of speculation. Like, what has actually happened behind the scenes, I don't know. For things to actually be confirmed and actually be announced, like stuff like this, it generally syncs up in some meaningful way with Board of Trustees meetings, which obviously can be done remote in this day and age, but they generally seem to sync up in a more meaningful way with when they're done in person. So, I don't know the Board of Trustees meeting schedule. I don't know if they have a meeting scheduled in person prior to then. I do know this, among the times they gather in person annually, graduation week is one of them, aka not for a minute. Not for a minute. But what we also know about this, it's been known essentially since we've known this basically since the last cycle of this, since last spring, that this was going to be Kent Syverud's last year. So, in theory, they need to be well down the path on this. The name at least internally, that keeps floating around is Mike Haney, who's currently the vice chancellor. A little promotion. Things like that could make sense. Mike kind of cut his teeth, that it's not even new anymore, but the Veterans Building that's across from Newhouse, he was in charge of that for a while, and he's still in charge of that, and he's risen up the ranks, and he's number 2 in command at the university right now. So it's possible, if it's just a handoff of power from Kent to Mike, that that nothing necessarily really changes from the top, or at least from an outside voice, and that people that can at least, rubber stamp or help make decisions are already here. Now, if that's good or bad for basketball, I don't know, but it's possible the voice of the room is already here. What we don't know is if that is actually the thing that is happening. It is a rumor, but we don't know anything beyond that. The other part of this, the former Pittsburgh athletic director, Heather Lyke, is now working at Syracuse as, what the hell's her actual title? Her actual title is just nonsense. Her actual title, yes. So on July 1 of this past year, a.k.a. day 1 of the fiscal year, Heather Lyke was hired as the special advisor to Chancellor Kent Syverud and athletic director John Wildhack. All right, let's pull some threads on this. You know who probably doesn't think he needs a special advisor as an athletic director that wasn't an athletic director of the league? Like the athletic director. So that's coming from the Kent Syverud side of things, that Heather's been kind of placed in the mix. So a lot of people are under the assumption that Heather would be next in command, which, again, rumor and whatnot, but it's a reasonable assumption. On the other hand, Heather Lyke, as an athletic director, has rather recently been responsible for handing out one of, if not the worst, basketball coaching contracts in America right now, which is Jeff Capel. He has made the NCAA tournament once. They ain't making it this year. So Jeff Capel is head coach of Pittsburgh, whose contract runs through 2030. It's 2026, mind you. He's got 4 more years on his contract, and he'll have made the tournament once in 8 years. We talk about fire and red. Jeff Capel is in the line of gotta go, and I don't know if Pitt, fiscally, can actually pull the trigger on it. Who signed the contract? The person that's ensconced at Syracuse, and at least is in discussion, potentially, to be the next athletic director. And, fella Ferda, to your point, the news that came out a couple of days ago from Chantel Jennings is the first place I saw this at The Athletic, who, let's tie all the threads of this puppy together, because this is where it just gets morosely amusing from a Syracuse perspective. So here is Chantel's headline from 2 mornings ago. 6 former Pitt players sue, alleging abusive coaching methods, hostile environment. Who'd they sue, you might ask? What are they upset about it? They are suing current Pitt women's basketball head coach Tony Verde. Who else are they suing? Where's the list of people getting sued in here? Where is the list of people getting sued in here? I don't know. I have the whole list of people getting sued in here. But guess who was the athletic director that hired Tony Verde? Heather Lyke. Let's tie this even more together just for fun back to Syracuse. Who broke the story about Coach Q in a very similar style of story, except without the lawsuits? It came from Chantel Jennings at The Athletic. Scrolling down here in the story. Who was the whistleblower in this case? And this is where it gets truly fascinating as far as a just totally random tie to Syracuse. From Chantel's story on The Athletic, each lawsuit claims that former assistant coach John Markham, now at Boston College, reported Verde to Pitt Human Resources and senior administrators, and goes on to say, among those listed was senior administrator Jennifer Toscano, who's been there forever, their compliance person, their ethics person, and the AD, Heather Lyke, and the team doctor, and that none of these people did anything about it. Who's John Markham, you might want to ask? Well, you want to guess where he was employed at the time that the Coach Q stuff happened? Come on. You can do it. Yeah, he was an assistant for Q in Q's last year, and then he stayed on the staff of Von Reed the year after that. So, again, knowing John a little bit from those time periods, wild guy, but nice enough dude, who'd been through this once before, I can see the gears turning in his head like, not doing this again. So, here's what we have with Heather Lyke. Just handed out recently one of the worst contracts in major college basketball, got fired from Pitt, has been hired at Syracuse, potentially as the successor to John Wildhack, or not. There's nothing officially on the record at that, but connecting the dots ain't too hard here. So made a bad hire and a bad extension at men's basketball. Clearly here has made a bad hire at women's basketball because not only is their head coach getting sued, but their Pitt's also terrible and has been terrible forever. Made a bad hire before that with women's basketball, hiring Florida State assistant coach Lance White, who not sued. Fantastically nice guy from all accounts, but Pitt was like the worst team in the ACC his entire time as a head coach. So here's what we know about Heather Lyke and her hiring of basketball coaches while at Pittsburgh. She hired 3 of them, and they're all terrible. So, if Syracuse is going to need a new basketball coach in a month, and she's potentially in position to be involved somehow in this hiring, yeah, don't trust that as far as I can throw it. And if you are a coach that's hanging out there, if you're a coach that's hanging out there, and we'll get into who's next here in a little bit, like if you're a hot candidate, and all right, say she's in the mix, or John Wildhack's here, but you know if Wildhack's involved in your hire, he's not going to be here when you're actually working in coaching. If the chancellor's not selected, so you don't know what's happening or what might change or any of that, why are you taking the job at Syracuse? There's still a lot of good reasons to take the job at Syracuse, but man, if you are a hot coaching candidate in this cycle, at least as we sit here on February 12th, that's a lot of uncertainty. Now, by the time the season ends, it's going to be right around a month from now, right? When's the last regular season game? The last regular season game for Syracuse basketball is scrolling. March 7th. That's a Saturday. The 8th is a Sunday. The 9th is a Monday. The 10th is Tuesday. That'll be the first day of the ACC tournament. So it's very possible that the Syracuse basketball season is over essentially in 4 weeks. Like, it's very possible that's what we're looking at. 2 days less for a month, or, add a day or two onto that. And if a move is to be made on Red, it's going to happen what? Like right after the game or the day after? That's how these things are done. So unless 2 extremely big picture university questions are answered here within the next month in stuff that doesn't usually happen very quickly, the Orange may be in just a very, very strange administrative situation trying to make a massively important hire for the future of the athletic department. No pressure on anybody there. Like, it's nutty, all the different points that are connecting here. And then add on this. If you weren't with us for postgame last night, I said this on postgame last night, and I've had it kicking around social media this morning. I'll say it again because this is why that stuff I find frightening from a future of the athletic department and the basketball program perspective. It was not the exact same situation, but close enough. In the spring of 2004, Buzz Shaw retired as chancellor. I happened to be his last convocation. Congratulations to me. There were others there, I suppose. Nancy Cantor was hired in his place. So she was already in place. That sets this up a little differently. Coach P's coaching, whatever's going on. The Diamond Ferry game happens, whatever. Jake Krauthamel announces his retirement. Okay, Daryl Gross is now hired as athletic director. Okay, this is all happening within like a month now. Now the bowl game happens. Syracuse goes down and gets run out of the building by Georgia Tech. Okay, now Coach P gets fired a few weeks after the regular season ends. Now you have a new chancellor and a new AD making a hire late in the process. Greg Robinson. So the last time Syracuse had uncertainty and swirling whatever at all of these positions that lined up with a major coaching hire, aka football or basketball, we got Greg Robinson. I don't care who's in charge. I don't care what is going on. Syracuse basketball cannot afford to hire whomever the basketball version of Greg Robinson is, because that killed the Orange football program for 2 decades. And I know a lot of you out there think that Red is that. He's not. It's not that bad. For those of you that think this is that, you don't remember that. I'm not saying Red is doing a great job or deserves to be the head coach here next year. But we talked about this last night on postgame. Our guy Nick in Vegas called in and asked this. Is there a chance, because of all of this stuff, that Red is the head coach next year? And I'm going to say no. It's not going to happen, but I'm saying because of all of this and the who's in charge question, I'll say there is more than a 0% chance, barring a crazy winning streak, like say they finish as we think they might. But if there is no clear direction of leadership from the top, like, how do we look back at it? Again, it's a different situation. Like, we look back at it, that's 22 years ago when the Coach B stuff went down. And in hindsight, it's very clearly, well, they should have kept him for another year because the future would have been better. Now, can Syracuse basketball survive keeping Red for another year based on where the fans are and all this stuff right now? There hadn't been a turn against Coach P to the level that there has been against Red. There certainly had been some, but it wasn't as vitriolic as we've seen here about the Red stuff. But, man, so all's this to say is there are an unbelievable amount of unanswered questions as we head into all of this. An unbelievable amount of questions. Am I supposed to communicate the silver lining to you, Smashing the Waves? I mean, they might not hire the Greg Robinson of basketball. I would love to give you here's the silver lining. All right, I'll give you some silver linings, Patching the Waves. It's February 12th. You've got a month. Like, in the real world, a month's a lot of time to figure out a lot of things, right? Like, you can line up the next chancellor or make it official or do whatever. You can, or at least make it known in the search process. Same with the next AD. Though you can line that all up within a month. It is exceedingly doable to line all that up within a month. There's your silver lining. That it's very doable. Now, do I think it will be done? I do not think it will be done. But I'm saying it's doable. It's kind of a weak silver lining, Weeze, but that's what I got for you. That's what I got for you. That's the weakest silver lining I think I could have pulled out of this. But it's silver-ish. That was like a silver-ish lining. That maybe had a little snag and a tear in the lining, and some of the puffy fur or whatever's on the inside is falling out. I tried. I tried. Where will I be later today on National Hug Day? If you see me, come give me a hug. There we go. A big bowl of soup, Weeze. I'm also pondering some soup as part of my lunch today. Yeah, I've got a mind for a soup and a sandwich situation coming up when we're done today. So I got thoughts on that. So it won't be a big bowl of soup due to the sandwich, but I've got, yeah, we got that. So those are all like that took. I mean, this tells you how convoluted the whole thing is. That just took me like 20 minutes to tell you all of that. And all of that is to tell you that Syracuse is in an exceedingly weird situation that we just don't know what's going on. I told you a whole bunch of stuff, which is like, what? Uh-oh, what? Can they figure it out in a month? I don't know. And then if they don't, and John Wildhack, who we know is done at the end of June, is the one in charge of this, and you are a candidate, man, you know that part of job interviews when they're like, hey, do you have any questions for us? Oh, dog. These people would have to have some questions. Some questions for sure. So there we go. That is the current state here on this morning at 11:28 of Syracuse Athletics. It is extremely subject to change. With that now, let's talk about one of the candidates that may have to deal with all of this in still our newest segment. We're about to, is this our fifth? This is our fifth installment of Who's Next.
Mason here. It's time to continue our search for the next Syracuse basketball head coach. With today's candidate, here's Brian.
I turned off my mic. I've turned it back on. I just gotta let the music go a little bit. Eric and Ralph's at Shoppingtown. I think that's before my time. Please, is it the food court? Where was that? I don't know if I'm familiar with that. I think today, like, as we get into who's next for my lunch, is, you know, it's a staple. It's a classic in the area. I haven't been there in a minute. I think we got a little Brooklyn pickle on tap for today. I think we're gonna pickle it up. Not a sponsor, but we wouldn't complain. Or you never know. Maybe we can Thompson Road Tavern it up, because what a place that is to go for lunch. Yeah, I'll tell you, fella, for this music kind of evens the whole thing out, right? And now the music's gonna go away, and we're gonna show you who's next today. And it is the music's not going away. It had a little. Oh, it came back. Just when you think it's fading out, it gets back into it. There it goes. All right. Now we're going to show you a name that you have been clamoring for us to talk about here in Who's Next. And our candidate to be the next Syracuse men's basketball head coach today is this guy. And his name is Josh Schertz, the current head coach of the 23-1. Is that what they are? St. Louis Billikens. They're good. He's the head coach of SLU, and they're doing really well. So that's where, are they 23-1? 23-1, fresh off a 24-point win last time out over the weekend against LaSalle. They head to Loyola Chicago, R.I.P. Sister Jean, for a game tomorrow night. Absolutely cruising. Their only loss so far this year is by one to Stanford in a Thanksgiving tournament out in California. So we talk about Josh Schertz today. Oh, I hit the wrong button. I blame Mason and Red and John Wildhack and everybody but Josh Schertz. So here's this guy's deal. Here is the deal of Josh Schertz. You want somebody that is technically local-ish. He's 50 years old, born the day after the 4th of July back in 75 in where? Brooklyn, New York. Okay, so technically he is a New York native, so we like that. We like that. Where has his coaching career taken him? He's been at lower levels. He was at something called Lynn. That's not a person, that's a place. He was at Queens, not the one in New York City. This one's in North Carolina. He was at High Point, an actual D1 team in North Carolina for a while. His first head coaching job came at Lincoln Memorial. The Rail Splitters are somewhere in a place called Harrogate, Tennessee. You all know it. They're D2. He was there for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 years. And put up a 337 and 69 record. That's an 83% winning percentage. He made the tournament in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of his last 10 years there. His last year was his third Division II Final Four. He was the runner-up once, did not win the Natty, but came close at Lincoln Memorial out of Tennessee. Then In 2021, he got the job at Indiana State, the Sycamores, the alma mater of one Larry Bird. So he did that, and this is where he would have first gotten on any of our radars. And this would have happened in his last year at Indiana State. So first year took over, they were terrible. They're 11-20. Second year they go 23-13, and he made a run to the quarterfinals of the CBI. The last year is the year we got to know Indiana State. We got to know Josh Schertz, and we got to know them because they went 32-7, though they actually lost in their conference tournament and were not selected, somewhat controversially, to the NCAA tournament. Ended up being runners-up in the NIT. But our entry point to them is they got really good that season beside their center, their goggled center, one Robbie Avila, a.k.a. Larry Nerd, a.k.a. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He was white. So that is when Schertz and all of those people came to our attention at Indiana State now a couple of years ago. So after that year, Schertz is the hot name. And you wonder, where is he going to get a job? Is he going to make a big leap or what? So he ends up making a smaller jump, going to the A-10, taking the job at St. Louis. St. Louis has generally had decent coaches. First year, he goes 19-15 there. I believe Avila transferred with him. And then this year, they're absolutely killing it. They're 23-1. They're ranked in the top 20 right now. So, again, he becomes the hot name. And now he becomes the hot name for a jump to the top level. Be it a Syracuse, who absolutely certainly should kick the tires on a guy like this. Or, and I'd say, like, if you are Syracuse and for some reason you hone in on Josh Schertz as a guy that you're looking out for, my main worry is, he's from Brooklyn, but look at where his last couple of jobs were. He's at Indiana State, he's at St. Louis. Right now, he's been coaching successfully in the Big Ten footprint. I don't know what jobs are going to open up in the Big Ten this year. There's rumors Ohio State might come open. You know, the Big Ten's got 80 million teams in it. Some jobs got to become available. And obviously, the Big Ten has gobs and gobs and gobs of cash to deal with at the moment. And, like, I realize this was football, but it's almost like, Here's a couple things that would intrigue you potentially to any Big Ten opening this season. One, what Indiana basketball school just did in football this year, winning the national championship. And two, what Nebraska football school is currently doing in basketball. The Big Ten's got money. They're not afraid to spend it. You can be successful, and it's been proven in either of those sports now at any school in that league because of just the volume of cash that's going around. So if I am a Big Ten AD that has a job opening this season, this guy, Josh Schertz, is getting a phone call due to his location, proximity, and the whole thing. Now, I have seen already multiple, like, national analyst types that are, and I don't think this is a sourced connection, this is a logic connection. They're projecting jobs that they think will be open. And here's where things get interesting with what we were just talking about, with the totally unsettled hierarchy at the university right now. And what I try to say a lot is that while a lot of us here are down currently on Syracuse basketball, because the last 5 years for sure, the last 10 years in many ways, have not been up to Syracuse standards, is that nationally, Syracuse basketball is still a big enough brand that if you are the hot name available this year and Syracuse basketball calls you, you have to listen. You have to listen because it's still Syracuse basketball, and nationally, like, that carries a lot more weight than if it's, just some random lower tier Big Ten school or whatever. Like, it means more. Like, last night, take that, SEC. Last night, there were 4,000 and change in the Dome from everything I've heard. Obviously, the weather sucked, and, everyone's down on the team right now. And for Syracuse, that's an extremely disappointing crowd. And fascinatingly enough, Brent Axe reported yesterday they're expecting upwards of 9,000 people, if not more, for the lacrosse game tomorrow night between number 1 and number 2 with Maryland and Syracuse. So, but I think what we know is this. If Syracuse basketball gets back to being good, will it be 30,000, 30,000, 30,000 ever again? In this day and age, probably not. But I think if Syracuse is good again, it's not going to be that difficult to get the Dome back into the 20s and get it rocking and the whole thing again. It's, if and when the team gets good again, I think that's going to come back to a big enough extent that things like that are still, to this day, unique about Syracuse. The Dome is unique about Syracuse. The Mello Center, and obviously there may be some Mello ties with all of this, depending on how things go, is still if not upper echelon, a very, very solid basketball facility, and I think it's still probably upper echelon, even though it's about 15 years old right now. It's still a very nice practice building. So it's an attractive job, or should be an attractive job based on all of that. But then there are, if I am a guy like Josh Schertz, here are the questions I'm asking. What's our NIL situation? What's the budget? Where's the money coming from? How much money do I got to spend on a roster? Where's the support? Is it going to be there? That's question one. And that's question one, even despite these questions after it. Question two is, who's my boss? If he's talking to John Wildhack, the answer is not him. He'd be your boss for a few months, but he's not the guy that's really going to be overseeing things when you're in charge. Who's my boss? What's the direct? And then with the chancellor changing, who's my boss? What is the direction of the university in regards to athletics? Because you want to know that there is support from your immediate supervisor, but you also want to know that the institution finds what you are doing valuable. So those are three extremely significant questions to ask if you're a Josh Schertz, if you're anybody in that position. On the court, I get it, St. Louis, they're scoring 91 points a game. Is that a good time for anybody? You talk about modern basketball. St. Louis is averaging 11 and a half made threes a game. This is the modern, spread them out, play fast, get it up kind of game. Robbie Avila is still in. Robbie Avila's on this St. Louis team? Who knew? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's still there. I had no idea. He's leading SLU in scoring this year with nearly 13 points a game. I had no idea he was still in school. I thought he must be at least 30 by now. But I look at the St. Louis roster. They have 4 players on the roster that have made at least 35 threes, another that's made 24, and 2 more that are in double figures. They have 4 players on their roster, including Larry Nerd, that are shooting north of 40% from 3. As a team, and we watched, how many threes in a row did Syracuse miss at one point last night? It was north of 10. As a team, St. Louis this year is shooting better than 40% from 3. So this is the ball's moving around, threes coming from everywhere. This is the kind of offense that you can expect from a guy like Josh Schertz coming in. And reasonably similarly, when we talked about Brian Hodgson a week ago, kind of the same deal. So it will be fascinating to see how something like this goes, but I could definitely see, I talk about guys, if you are Syracuse, that 100% you need to talk to. We've done 5 editions of this. Who's next? I think you absolutely need to talk to 4 of them, and it's not Rick Pitino because, remember, we ruled that out on Monday. You got to call Jerry. I know some of you don't like that. You got to call Jerry. Matt Langle's right there. Give him a call. Just see what's up. I think you got to call Josh Schertz, and I think you got to call Brian Hodgson, who are 2 of the hotter, mid-major rising coaches, younger-ish guys. Schertz is 50, young enough, guys in the country. Those are four guys that I think you absolutely have to at least explore. I don't know if there's more than four that you absolutely have to explore. Hodgson beat Wichita State last night. Did they win that game, Tuna? Happy 1 week past your birthday to Big Tuna. There's plenty of other guys in the mix. Obviously, like other guys. I'm not saying the head coach will be one of those four guys. There's plenty of other deserving and interesting candidates that we will explore here going forward. But I think if you're going to make a list of people that absolutely have to be at least called, talked to, and considered on some level, it's Jerry, it's Langle, it's Hodgson, and it's Schertz. And then there's plenty of other good coaches out there that, you certainly give a look and a thought and whatever that could be good ideas, bad ideas. It would be very interesting about it. But those are the four I got that are like, all right, this is the start of the list, and then we move from there. Yeah, Brian Hodgson is clearly putting his name out there. He's got a connection to the Lowleys. Jeff Goodman's tweeting about him. Like, it's out there. That's out there. Like, Brian Hodgson is, out of all the people on this list, like, well, I don't want to say that. Like, Brian Hodgson, out of all the, setting Jerry aside, right? Like, I'm certain Brian Hodgson would be interested in the job. Like, if you told me Josh Schertz would find, like, I think if there was multiple job offers out there this year for whatever reason, I feel most confident that Hodgson would pick Syracuse as his major job offer over other schools. With a guy like Schertz or other guys in the mix, I don't feel, I don't know. Like, there's no information about that either way, one way or another. So there we are. A little who's next today as we explore the life and times of one Josh Schertz, the current head coach of 23-1 St. Louis, who, at least right now at this second, I think is going to be the hottest mid-major coaching candidate of this coaching style. Like, I think that would be the case. I cannot put anybody above him as far as, now there may be better coaches, there may not, I'm not saying he's guaranteed and all that, but as far as hottest coaching candidate of this job cycle, mid-major, stepping up to a major level, Josh Schertz is the guy. And there we are, a little who's next here on this Thursday. Oh, and we still have such a long, long way to go here on Who's Next, because as we said, and as we learned from John Wildhack yesterday, like, we can stop talking about the idea of Red losing his job during the season. Like, John just flat out put it out there yesterday, and I do thank him for that, because that talk was getting just so beyond annoying. Like, oh, is he going to get fired today? Is he going to get fired today? I was sick of that. I'm more focused on when he gets fired in March. That's more morose about that. But now we know we got at least a month here to do this. So we got the list of names. We got the whole thing. We'll be rolling along every Monday and Thursday here. We'll be telling you who is next. Maybe we'll start Who's Next, the Athletic Director series. We could become the official home for Who's Next of everything. Hey, that could be harder to do. I feel there's less scuttlebutt out there about, like, prospective future ADs than basketball coaches. I don't know. Yeah, what Gino did say that about Coach Jack. I think he said that after she was already hired. I forget the order of operation. Gino says a lot of things. Gino just says a lot of stuff. Maybe they can hire Gino. Hey, Gino. I'll say, like, Gino's still the best basketball coach out there. Gino's fantastic. Gino's nuts, but he's got the best thing going, and he's had for a long, long time. I still think Gino's the best college basketball coach, men's or women's, ever. Period. Full stop. End of sentence. As annoying as it was to watch, him pound Syracuse into the ground, time and time again. And, my goodness, was that annoying. And I'm still projecting Felicia Leggett-Jack to lose a second-round tournament game on the road in stores to Gino Auriemma. And unlike 2 years ago, where they actually kept it respectable, this year I'm projecting them to lose by 80 million points, because that UConn team is, they are a problem. hire Luke Murray and bring Gino as an assistant coach. Like, hey, Gino, in your retirement, you're moving to Syracuse, and you're eating Italian meals with the Heimer. They're friendly. I think Gino and Jim are friendly because they both hated Jim Calhoun. Like, that was an enemy of the enemy is your friend situation. That's the enemy of the enemy is your friend. Sub-channel of Who's Next? Anything is possible. Big Tuna. I first read that as a sub and be like, yeah, it is almost lunchtime. We could get a sub. Yeah, all Who's Next all the time. It could become a running series, just Who's Next, and we just talk about random crap. Anything is possible. Anything is possible. Now I know this. Now I know what is next. And what is next is there is a lacrosse game tomorrow night, number 1 versus number 2, Syracuse and Maryland. The other thing that is next is there's a basketball game on Saturday, Syracuse and SMU, coming up on Saturday. And I know this. If there's a lacrosse game tomorrow, post-game show after. If there's a basketball game Saturday, post-game show after. We should probably tell you exactly what's going to happen.
Hi, Mason again. It's time to find out exactly what's going to happen in the next Syracuse game. This is No Wrong Answers. Here's Brian.
Thank you, Mason. Mason's hard at work these days. Thank goodness we're not paying him by the hour. This show would go under. All right, no wrong answers. Syracuse and Maryland tomorrow. Syracuse and SMU on Saturday. Let's take it in order. We'll start with lacrosse tomorrow. Maryland enters at number 1. Syracuse enters at number 2. Projecting a large crowd in the Dome tomorrow night. Should be a fantastic environment for early season, regular season lacrosse. I'll remove should be. Tomorrow will be the best environment for lacrosse in college until, probably months from now. It's going to be fantastic. The women also host number 1 tomorrow. That game is earlier in the afternoon. The women host North Carolina, who is number 1 tomorrow. Less optimistic about that game. The women struggled in their opener, a loss to Maryland, and now they have to play the best team in the country coming up tomorrow night. What time is that game? Tomorrow afternoon, 2:30 on a Friday afternoon. An odd time and day to be playing the number 1 team in the country, but so be it. And then they head on the road to take on number 5 Stanford out in California. They got a crazy schedule, as always. But men's lacrosse, the men come in, handled BU easily in the opener, Rusty on the clear, cleaned that up, which was a fantastic side for Game 2, and just absolutely tenderized St. Joe's on Saturday. 20-2 is the final score. It was a bloodbath, and Syracuse dominated, all as a nice tune-up game to get ready for this game tomorrow night coming up in the Dome. Here's the problem. And the problem isn't that Maryland's number 1. Maryland seems to be number 1 more often than not of late. They beat their opener against Richmond was postponed due to weather last Saturday. They played Loyola and smushed them 19-10. So Maryland's got 1 game under their belt, and they killed Loyola in that game. And, they're going to be good because they are Maryland, and they're always good. Leo Johnson had 5 goals in the opener. Chris Lyons had 4. Braden Erksa, who's been there for a while, had 4 assists in the game. Their goalie, whose name I don't know at the moment, is probably good because Maryland's goalie is always good. Brian Ruppel, yeah, he's set for another nice year. Maryland's really good. Here's the problem. Here's the biggest problem Syracuse has going in this game coming up tomorrow night. The Orange have lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 consecutive games to the Terps. Back in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, they didn't play a lot, but Syracuse owned the series. They won a playoff game in the quarterfinals when John Galloway was out sick back in 2009 en route to Syracuse's last national championship. They have not beaten Maryland since. They played again in the quarterfinals in 2011. That would have been Galloway and that whole crew's senior year. The game was played in Foxborough at the Patriots Stadium at Gillette. Syracuse was the 1 seed, Maryland was the 8 seed. The shot clock, very important to note, did not exist yet in college lacrosse, and that is the worst game in the history of college lacrosse. It is the game that eventually, it took way too long, led to the shot clock, and it is the game that cost Syracuse a third national title in 3 years because Maryland stalled the whole freaking game away. Syracuse didn't play well on their limited opportunities on offense, and Maryland won it 6-5 in overtime. And then, ever since, they have had Syracuse's number in a big way. 2014, their 1 year they shared as ACC rivals. Remember that? 16-8 Maryland. 2016, this was a playoff game when Maryland was the 1 seed and Syracuse was the 8 seed. The Orange lose by 6. 2022, when Gary took over, they now started playing every year. This was actually a very good game. It was a really good Maryland team that won the national championship. Or they were coming off winning the national championship, I think. Or did they win it that year? Doesn't matter. They were really good. It was Gary's first year. The Orange gave him a battle. Syracuse lost by 4, but it was a great game. The next year, the Orange never really in it. They lost by 3 down in College Park. 2 years ago, back in the Dome, great game. The Orange lose in overtime. Last year down in College Park, the Orange lose by 4. So this will be the 5th straight February they played. And then 2 years ago in the playoffs, Syracuse lost to Maryland in the quarterfinals by 6 in a game that they were never really in. So that is the recent slate between these teams. 8 straight losses for Cuse and Maryland. Oh, Kid Navy, my sweater game is strong, everyone. So what's going to happen on Friday night in the Dome? Where is it going to start? If Syracuse is going to win this game, how's it going to happen? No wrong answers. John Mullen's got to have a big game at the face-off dot. The Orange are going to need the ball and going to need to really control possession of the ball if they want to win the ball game. Maryland usually has a bunch of face-off guys. They won 2/3 of them in their opener. It's hard to know how good this crew is going to be yet this year. We know Mullen's good. If Syracuse is going to win this game, Mullen's probably going to be in the mid to upper 60s. I'm going to give him a fighting shot. I'll say John wins 60% of the face-offs on Friday night in the Dome. Joey Spallina, can he show up in a big game? He was absolutely shut down by Maryland in that playoff game a couple of years ago. What did Joey do in the regular season against Maryland last year? I mean, Syracuse scored 7 and 8 in their 2 games against Maryland last year. The loss in the Final Four, and then the loss in the regular season. What did Spallina? Spallina was great in the quarterfinal game last year to get to the Final Four, but I don't think he did much in the Final Four game. What did Joey do? Number 22, no goals, 1 assist. So can Spallina get going in a game like this? No wrong answers. Joey Spallina against Maryland. Oh, this game has been rough for him his whole career. I'm going to go 1 goal, 2 assists. He gets a little, but not a lot in this game. So now scoring's got to come from elsewhere. Bear Anderson missed last game sick. I'm hoping Peyton plays because that's the type of guy. A big guy who can go get you a goal you need in a game like this. I think Anderson will play and he'll get a couple goals coming up tomorrow night in the Dome. You need some dodging middies to score. You're going to need Luke Roa, and you're going to need Michael Leo. They combined for 3 goals in the semis last year. They'll combine for 4 goals tomorrow night. You'll need something coming off the second midfield line. Wyatt Hoddle's been that guy so far, and just a variety of freshmen starting to chip in. So I think Hoddle has another nice game. We'll give him 2 goals. So the goals starting to add up here a little bit. What I think we're going to see tomorrow is a higher scoring game than normally Syracuse is able to do against Maryland. I think. But when we look at this game, no wrong answers, when we look at Syracuse and Maryland, it's 8 straight losses to the Terps, and a lot of them have not been particularly close. I think we get our money's worth Friday night in the Dome. No wrong answers. Final score 14-13. Maryland. No wrong answers. I just picked Maryland. Oh, that feels terrible. That just feels terrible. It's just, man, Syracuse does not play well against Maryland for the most part. But I think tomorrow we're going to see that Syracuse is ready for the part. But then it's going to give them the thing they've got to be driving to get to overcome for later this season if they have designs on actually winning the national championship. Now, no wrong answers. Saturday in basketball, Syracuse and SMU. SMU coming up to the Dome. Boopie Miller. What a great name. The problem here is that Boopie's good at basketball. Most recently, SMU played Notre Dame on Tuesday. They won 89-81 in a game where Boopie scored 20. SMU, they're another team that they can put the ball in the bucket. They can put the ball in the bucket. SMU's averaging 86.5 points a game this year. They can fill it up. They shoot threes, but it's not overwhelming. They make 8 a game. It's a reasonable number, not a crazy number. I think we're going to have a lot of points in the Dome on Saturday. Let's start. Where should we start? Donnie Freeman has been starting slow as of late. The Orange will need him to start faster if they're to have any chance on Saturday. He got his numbers in the end last night, but it took a while to get there. I think it's another kind of sluggish game for Donnie Freeman. We'll give him 15 points and 6 rebounds, but just like, okay, what's going on here? J.J. Starling's been putting the ball in the bucket pretty well recently. I think that keeps going. 15 points for J.J. Likewise, Nate Kings, who had 27 last time out. No wrong answers. Nate Kings in this game will have 15 points as well. They all just have 15 points in the ball game. William Kyle had his best game in a long time last time out. Then he left with what appeared to me, anyway, to be cramps in the last game. I think he'll be fine. Well, we'll see how well he does against this SMU team. The Orange are going to need his energy and effectiveness. He ain't doing 15 and 16 again. We'll go 12 points, 8 rebounds for Kyle in this game. No wrong answers. Kyan Anthony, man, like he played in the game last night. That's the best I can give him. Kyan Anthony, no wrong answers, 3 points in the game. I thought Sadiq White, no wrong answers, was excellent in his time on the court last night. I think Sadiq has earned himself a few more minutes on Saturday. He'll go 8 points and 6 rebounds in the game against SMU, and he stopped fouling every 7 seconds recently, so that's outstanding for Sadiq. Betsy hasn't done much recently. He'll make a couple of threes in the game. And, and then Nate George. We haven't done Nate George. No wrong answers, Nate George. He'll give us the full potpourri of everything. 9.6 turnovers and 7 assists in the basketball game. And then there's Boopie Miller on the other side. Here's the problem. Is Syracuse going to slow down the Boop? 19 points a game for Boopie Miller. 19 points a game for Boopie Miller. I think he's going to be a problem. I think it's a problem the Orange don't have an answer for. I think Boopie's going to go off for 28 in the game, and that's going to be the difference. No wrong answers. Final score in the Dome on Saturday, SMU 86, Syracuse 78. A fun game to watch, but another loss for the Orange. Again, after both of these games, Friday night after Syracuse lacrosse, Saturday afternoon after Syracuse basketball. Post-game shows available for both. Syracuse press conferences available for both. We'll hear from Gary Gayton, players Friday night. We'll be hearing from Adrian Autry after the game on Saturday. You're on YouTube right now, so like, subscribe, notifications on, the whole deal. And your phone can tell you to get out and go check out those things coming up tomorrow night and then on Saturday. And there we are. A little bit of no wrong answers for you here on this Thursday morning. A little no wrong answers for you here on this Thursday morning. With that, I think we've done it all. We've rambled on and on about the current and future state of the athletic department. We've told you who's next and discussed Josh Schertz. We have told you who's winning this weekend, and sadly, it's not Syracuse. I believe I just predicted a loss in every game that's going to be played in the Dome for women's lacrosse, men's lacrosse, and men's basketball this weekend. So, hopefully, it'll be filled with wrong answers. We'll find out over the course of the weekend. With that, have a great day, everybody. Oh, tonight, future schedule tonight. We're not done yet today. Basketball game last night means TPS report tonight. Me, Jordan, 8 o'clock. Jordan, National Grid employee, power surges, was in the Dome last night. I'm intrigued to get Jordan's perspective on, zany night in the building. So myself, Jordan, tonight at 8. We'll see y'all then. I do love to say Boopy's name, Big Tuna. It's fantastic. His name's Boopy. Who doesn't like to say Boopy? 8 o'clock tonight, we'll see you. Post-game Friday, we'll see you. Post-game Saturday, we'll see you. Go get some soup, everybody. I recommend Thompson Road Tavern. We'll check in again tonight. Have a good day.
Thanks for watching the 315 with Brian Higgins. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn your notifications on. We'll see you next time.